My sister-in-law announced my pregnancy. Way too early, saying she did it, so her own later pregnancy wouldn't be overshadowed. She claimed it was just because she was so excited. Well, I ended up revealing my baby's gender at her pregnancy announcement. I'm 27 years old and currently 8 months pregnant. This whole situation has been weighing on me for a while. I haven't talked about it much, but it's been on my mind every single day. What happened was one of those things that seemed small at the time, but over time, as I thought about it more, I realized just how wrong it was. My husband Nick is 29, and he has a younger sister named Dana, who is 25. Dana has always been a bit of an exaggerator, to say the least. She needs attention, loves to be the center of everything, and doesn't understand boundaries very well. She acts like boundaries don't exist. She's not necessarily mean or cruel, at least not in an obvious way. But she's one of those people who just acts first and then either doesn't apologize at all or gives an apology that somehow makes it all about her. Our mothers are very good friends. They grew up together. Nick and I had been trying to have a baby for a little over a year. We didn't share this with anyone except a couple of close friends because the process was stressful, and we didn't want everyone constantly asking for updates. There were tears, disappointments, and a chemical pregnancy that left me pretty shaken for weeks. So when I finally got a positive test and the doctor confirmed everything was okay, I was cautiously happy. I wanted to really enjoy the moment and tell people when I was ready. Nick completely respected that. He said we could wait until after the first trimester to tell our families. I liked that plan. It seemed safe to me. At that point, I was around 9 weeks pregnant, so it was still pretty early. But we decided to tell his parents and siblings first. Just them. It wasn't obvious yet, and I made it very clear that I wasn't ready for the news to become public. I told them during dinner at my in-laws' house. It was just his mom and dad, Dana, and Dana's boyfriend. Everyone seemed happy for us, and I felt good about how it went. Then, 3 days later, I woke up to find my phone full of notifications. I had messages from cousins, aunts, co-workers, and even a school friend I hadn't spoken to in years, all congratulating me. Some had tagged me on Facebook, and others were commenting on a post Dana had made. She had posted a photo of a baby bodysuit and booties, and wrote something about becoming an aunt. She tagged Nick and me. I hadn't posted anything about the pregnancy myself at that point. I immediately called Nick, who was at work, and he hadn't seen it either. I immediately started crying because I felt like this special moment I had been guarding so carefully had been completely taken away from me. I wasn't ready to share it yet. I was still so afraid that something might go wrong. And now, it was out there for everyone to comment on, message about, and speculate over. I sent Dana a message right away, telling her I absolutely did not agree with what she had done. She responded with a long message about how excited she was, how she just couldn't contain herself, and how she thought we'd be totally okay with it since we'd already told the family. She kept saying she was just so happy and didn't think it was going to be a big deal at all. So, there you have it. An example of doing something wrong, not really apologizing, and somehow making it all about her. Nick was absolutely furious. He called her right away, and I could hear them having a big fight. "Of course," she cried, because that's what she does whenever people get upset with her. Then she called her mother, who ended up calling me back and saying that Dana did it with good intentions and that I should just be happy. Lots of people were excited for us, and that's what really mattered. I didn't say much, but after hanging up, I muted Dana on all my social media accounts and completely stopped responding to her messages. For weeks, I just felt like that special moment had been stolen from me. People kept asking questions, giving unsolicited advice, and making comments about my body. I couldn't even make the nice, private announcement I had planned for my own parents. Dana's post got to them first, and when I told her she had completely taken that moment away from me, she just said I was being overly dramatic. That word, dramatic, really stuck with me, especially since I had waited so long to even get to that point. Fast forward a few months. I was about 6 months pregnant when Dana invited everyone to a barbecue at her place. It was just family. Her parents, Nick and me, some cousins, and her boyfriend Ben's parents. We were all just hanging out, eating and chatting. Then Dana stood up right in the middle of everything and clinked a glass, just like they do at weddings. She smiled and announced that she was pregnant. "I'm 7 weeks along," she said. "Ben and I are so happy. We wanted to keep it a secret for a while, but we decided this was the perfect time." Everyone applauded and congratulated her. I smiled too, but I felt a little stiff. That night, after most people had left, I asked Dana privately why she hadn't said anything sooner. Honestly, though, I already knew. She looked right at me and said she didn't want her pregnancy announcement to be overshadowed by mine. She said she didn't want it to be something where people would just talk about my pregnancy, that she wanted her own moment. I felt like my brain had completely short-circuited. So, she didn't want to be overshadowed? She kept her pregnancy a secret for weeks, then timed her announcement for maximum attention and had the nerve to tell me I was being dramatic for wanting to wait to share mine? It all suddenly started to make sense to me. Dana hadn't posted about our pregnancy out of genuine excitement. She did it because she saw an opportunity to grab attention and wanted to take full advantage of it. She didn't care at all that I wasn't ready. She saw the window of opportunity closing and jumped on it before it was gone. And then, when it was her turn, she protected her moment like it was some kind of golden ticket. She understood boundaries perfectly when it came to her own moment. So, someone must have finally given her that dictionary. She just didn't think they should apply to me. From then on, everything Dana did just seemed calculated. She kept posting photos of her baby bump with captions that felt oddly competitive. She posted a side-by-side comparison of her bump at 7 weeks versus mine at 26 weeks, with a caption about us having twin cousins. People thought it was cute, but to me it really wasn't. She'd show up at family dinners in dresses that showed off her barely there bump and make little comments about how she was going to be such a fun mom. At my baby shower, she gave me a pack of diapers and then told the entire room that she was planning a minimalist parenting style and wouldn't need a lot of stuff because she was going to keep everything natural. She made several indirect comments that I felt were definitely like little jabs, things like how she wasn't going to gain much weight or how she was already planning on recovering quickly. I didn't respond to any of it. I just nodded, smiled, and tried to move on, but it really hurt. Even when Nick confronted her again and told her she seriously needed to relax, she just said we were insecure. That's her go-to word. Now we're insecure? As if wanting some space, privacy, and respect somehow makes me insecure. It wasn't even really about attention. I don't care about the number of likes or posts or being the center of family gossip. What mattered to me was not being able to just enjoy my pregnancy in peace. The one person who should have been supportive, another woman going through the exact same thing, turned it into this weird competition. I don't even know if she realizes the damage she caused. Probably not. Dana lives in her own little world where absolutely every single moment is about her. And the worst part? The whole family just accepts it. They just say, "Oh, that's just Dana." Like it explains everything. It's like that's just who she is. Maybe that's the case, I don't know. Or maybe she's just completely spoiled by her parents and nobody wants to deal with the adult child they created. Nick and I have talked about distancing ourselves a little, not cutting anyone off completely, but just creating some space. I want my baby to grow up surrounded by family, but I also don't want her around people who don't respect boundaries, especially if they're going to treat important life moments like some kind of game. My due date is just a few weeks away. Dana is around 13 weeks along now. I've already seen her list of baby names on Instagram, along with a post asking her followers what theme she should use for her gender reveal party. She even tagged me and said we should have a combined party. I didn't respond. I just want to have my baby and start my life as a mom without having to worry about who's watching, judging, or trying to one-up me. But I have a feeling this is just the beginning. She planned a small picnic in the park to announce her pregnancy, saying it was just a way to reach more people. She said it wasn't anything formal, just a fun way to share the news with family and close friends. At first, I wasn't even going to go. I was 31 weeks along, super bloated, barely sleeping, and always tired. But then her mom called me and said Dana really wanted me to go. I felt like it was one of those invitations loaded with guilt, like I'd be a terrible person if I didn't show up. So I ended up going for just about an hour. What she didn't know was that I had just found out the gender of my baby. I hadn't told anyone yet, not even our parents. I wasn't planning a big party or anything myself. I didn't want another big event that could be misinterpreted or steal the spotlight. But this time, I had an idea. So, I baked some vanilla cupcakes with white frosting, but inside was a pink filling. I brought them in a box labeled fragile and didn't say anything else about them. I thought maybe some people would try one, see the color, and we'd have a little sweet surprise. I just didn't want to wait any longer to share it with the people who were already there. And yes, a little part of me thought it would be nice for her to feel just a little bit of what I felt when she stole my news. We arrived just a little bit late. Everyone was already there. Decorations everywhere, a big photo board, matching napkins, soft music playing. She was dressed like it was a photo shoot for a maternity brand. She gave a little speech, showed her ultrasound picture, talked about how long they had kept the secret and how good it felt to finally spill the beans. Everyone clapped, took pictures, and offered congratulations like it was some kind of red carpet event. After a while, she started mingling. People were having snacks as they sat and chatted, It felt like a normal get-together again, and that's when I started offering the cupcakes. I didn't say anything in particular, just smiled and said, "Enjoy." It wasn't long at all. One of the cousins bit into one, saw the pink color, and let out a big gasp. She yelled it out, and a couple of people looked over. Suddenly, everyone's eyes were on the box. I just smiled and nodded when someone asked if it was mine. I said, "I just found out and wanted to share it with everyone," adding that I was so excited. Everyone clapped again. A few came up to hug me. Some seemed a little confused, but they smiled politely. Her mom seemed to be holding her breath. She didn't say anything, just stood right next to me, holding my water bottle, and stayed silent. My sister-in-law didn't notice right away, but when she did, I could see her whole demeanor just drop. Her smile completely disappeared. Afterward, she just walked away quickly with her boyfriend following behind her. They ended up hanging out at the very edge of the park for the rest of the event. She didn't come back over. We ended up leaving about 30 minutes later, leaving the cupcakes on the table. Later that night, I got a really long text message from her, with some parts in all caps. It said I had ruined her day, that I did it completely on purpose, that I was just jealous and bitter, that I always make everything about me, that I couldn't spare her a single moment, that I had embarrassed her in front of her friends and completely stole her joy. I replied that I was sorry if she felt that way, but I hadn't done it to intentionally hurt her. I said I was just excited, just like she said she was when she announced my pregnancy without even asking. I told her I hoped she'd see through the obvious double standard someday. She didn't respond, just left it on read, and then blocked me on Instagram the very next morning. Her mom keeps texting my husband saying Dana is really upset and wants an apology. His dad hasn't said anything. Update 1. It's been about 2 weeks since the gender reveal drama. Things were definitely awkward, but pretty quiet for a while. There was no direct contact, just lots of indirect comments coming through other relatives. Then, last week, I got a message from her mom, supposedly just to let me know that Dana was in the hospital for observation due to some minor pregnancy issues. It wasn't anything serious, just some bleeding and stress. The baby was fine, and she was fine. But of course, that wasn't the real focus. The very next thing I knew, people started contacting me with all sorts of weird accusations. Things like, "She's been under a lot of pressure lately," or "She hasn't been able to rest well since all this happened," or "This is why pregnant women need support, not competition." Later that night, I received a really long message from her boyfriend. He told me that they weren't directly blaming anyone, but that the timing of everything that had happened had been really difficult for her. He said what happened at the announcement party really affected her. He said that stress is just not good for a pregnant woman. He used all these vague words like emotional atmosphere and disharmony in the family. Basically, he was trying really hard to make me feel guilty without actually saying it directly. Honestly, it was crazy. I didn't do anything at all after the cupcakes. I remained completely silent. I didn't post anything about it. I didn't ask anyone to take sides. But now they were basically treating me like I had caused some kind of medical emergency just by showing up with pink cupcakes. Her mother even started texting my mom, saying things like, "We should all be thinking about the baby's health, not ego and rivalry." Then someone else even said to me, "Maybe you should just apologize to keep the peace. Not because you were wrong, but just to help everyone move on." I'm 33 weeks pregnant now. I'm absolutely bursting at the seams. I can barely even tie my shoes, and now I was being told I had to take the fall for something I didn't even cause. At a recent family dinner, a few people were definitely looking at me sideways. Some wouldn't even speak to me. One aunt even approached my husband and asked if I'd been more emotional lately, as if she were trying to diagnose me as some kind of unstable. Meanwhile, Dana stayed home and posted a picture of her hospital bracelet with a caption that said something like, "Just trying to work through all this." All of this really bothered me because I had gone through so much just to get pregnant, and she had absolutely no problem causing me stress. Not because of the initial reveal itself, but because I hadn't wanted to tell everyone before I was further along in my pregnancy. I haven't received any messages directly from her. I found it incredibly ironic that some people thought I should apologize when she hadn't apologized at all. And she was the one who really needed to apologize, especially since my pregnancy had been high risk and hers wasn't. If anyone put her pregnancy at risk, it was herself by turning it into this huge competition. Now the family was planning a baby shower just for her, supposedly to lift her spirits. And they were already making comments about how everyone needed to be on their best behavior and how we should avoid any unnecessary surprises this time around. I haven't decided if I'm even going to go. Honestly, I just wanted to enjoy the last few weeks of my pregnancy in peace. But that didn't seem possible when someone kept acting like my mere existence was somehow harmful to them. Update 2. The invitations for the baby shower went out just a few days ago. She used one of those fancy websites for online invitations and sent them out to everyone in the family and a few of our mutual friends. I opened the invitation expecting the typical stuff: theme, dress code, link to the registry. But near the very end of the invitation, there was this strange line written in cursive that said something like, "For the comfort of the expectant mother, this will be a child-free, pregnancy-free event." A pregnancy-free event? At a baby shower? It didn't even make sense. I texted one of our cousins to ask if she'd received the same thing. She had too. She thought maybe it was a personalized invitation just for me. She thought it was pretty weird too. That cousin wasn't pregnant herself, so she didn't think too much of it. But the message was crystal clear. I wasn't welcome. No one else in the family was pregnant at that time. It was obviously and completely about me. She didn't mention my name, but everyone absolutely knew. It was just her way of saying I couldn't come without actually saying it directly. I guess she thought making it a blanket rule would somehow seem like a general boundary and not the blatant personal criticism it clearly was. A few hours later, her best friend posted a story online about how some people just can't handle not being the center of attention and how true queens protect their energy during special moments. She didn't mention anyone by name, but the timing was just way too perfect. Later that day, my mom called and asked if I had seen the invitation. I told her I had. She was already pretty upset about it, but trying really hard to remain neutral. She told me she had talked to Dana about it, and Dana claimed it was all about her anxiety and wanting to stay calm. Apparently, seeing other pregnant women just makes her nervous and distracts her. That was her excuse. She also told my mom she didn't want people comparing bumps or asking pressure questions. It was all about preserving her peace or some other ridiculous thing. I'm sure if I hadn't done the gender reveal the way I did, none of this would have happened. More family members started contacting me privately. Some were really confused, others were clearly embarrassed. A few asked if I was going. I just told them I wasn't invited. And that was it. One person actually messaged the hostess asking if the rule was serious, and they confirmed that it was. Apparently, it was a firm boundary meant to protect the guest of honor. The thing is, I wasn't even planning on going anyway. I didn't want to be around any more drama, but being explicitly told I couldn't go because I was pregnant affected me in a completely different way. It felt like my body was now some kind of threat to her spotlight, as if being pregnant at the same time as her was some kind of crime. Now, of course, this was the new topic in the family chats. People were whispering about it, wondering why she was acting this way. Some relatives quietly decided not to go. Some would still go, but thought the whole thing was ridiculous. Some were still on her side and thought she was just trying to protect her sanity. I've stayed completely on the sidelines. I haven't responded, commented, or posted anything at all. I was just focusing on getting ready for the baby, but part of me was honestly tired of always being the one who had to just swallow the insult and move on. If I had done something even remotely like this, the whole family would have completely dragged me for it. Update 3. Last weekend, the family had a small reunion at my husband's aunt's house. It was a small gathering, mostly just immediate family. Dana was there with her boyfriend, sitting quietly. At first, I just kept my distance, trying to avoid any unnecessary drama. I was focused on catching up with a few people and just trying to get some decent food while balancing my very pregnant body on a too-small chair. Everything was going along fine until one of the cousins mentioned a parenting support group she'd recently joined and how helpful that had been. Somehow, that turned into a conversation about postpartum support and how important it is to really support new mothers. Then someone mentioned how some people in the family hadn't been very empathetic lately. It wasn't directed at anyone in particular, but the whole mood in the room quickly changed. Dana rolled her eyes and mumbled something under her breath. I didn't really hear what she said, but one person nearby did ask her to repeat herself, and that's when things really started to escalate. She immediately got defensive. She said she was just tired of being painted as the villain, that everyone always coddled me and acted like I never did anything wrong. She claimed she had to deal with so much stress because people apparently wouldn't let her have her moment. A few people looked pretty uncomfortable. A couple tried to quickly change the subject, but others just wouldn't let it go. They looked right at her and basically told her she needed to stop acting like the whole world revolved around her pregnancy. They said everyone had tried to be kind and supportive, even when she was being passive-aggressive, shutting people out and making everything about her. It was what honestly many of us had been thinking, but we're just too polite to actually say out loud. They told her it wasn't normal to forbid another pregnant woman from a baby shower, especially when they're your own family, just so you can feel more special. They said that dropping passive-aggressive hints online, twisting the narrative, and making every event a competition instead of a celebration wasn't just petty, but honestly cruel. And then, perhaps the most brutal thing, was when someone straight up said that her behavior was clearly based on jealousy and absolutely everyone could see it. I didn't say a single word. She seemed completely and utterly shocked, as if no one had ever said no to her in her entire life. Her boyfriend looked incredibly uncomfortable but didn't say a word or stand up for her. A few other people just nodded silently. One of her uncles tried to quickly calm things down by saying everyone was just tired and emotional, but it didn't work at all. She ended up leaving pretty early. She didn't say goodbye or give a polite excuse. She just grabbed her bag and literally stormed out the door, with her boyfriend hurrying after her. After she left, the energy in the room completely changed. A couple of people came up to me afterward and said they were so happy that finally someone was actually saying something. They said they had noticed how she'd been treating me and didn't think it was right at all. I just nodded and thanked them. I didn't want to fuel the fire any further. Later that night, she posted online about how some people just can't handle seeing others happy and how some family members were just snakes in disguise. It got a few likes and supportive comments from her usual circle, but most of the family completely ignored it. She hasn't reached out directly to anyone since then. My mom said she's probably still really angry and trying to act like she's been personally attacked. I haven't spoken to her, and I don't plan on doing so anytime soon. I've been busy getting ready for the baby. And honestly, it gave me some satisfaction to finally see someone actually call her out on her behavior after months of her weird games and passive-aggressive comments. Update 4. It's almost been 3 full months since I last posted, but you'll have to excuse me because I've been pretty busy being a mom. My daughter was born strong and healthy, and honestly, that's all my mind has been focused on these past few months. All the drama, my sister-in-law's nonsense, and everything else that happened during that time have been completely put on the back burner. My mind was completely in mom mode. And my sister-in-law has just been in the background, or even further back than that. But believe me, my sister-in-law has still been doing some silly things. She still hasn't given birth yet, so she still has plenty of time for her usual emotional tantrums and calls for attention. Although she seemed to calm down a bit as she reaches the very end of her pregnancy and is getting more swollen, at least she stopped uploading pictures or anything like that, maybe because she looks enormous and it's just not cool anymore. But before she finally started to calm down, she did her gender reveal, a highly produced video to show everyone it was going to be a boy. And she even used this as a form of competition, because she highlighted in her post that she was giving her mother a grandson, as if to say that because he's a boy, he was somehow more important than my daughter. Another brilliant idea she had was to start practicing sports like boxing and stuff while very pregnant, apparently to show that women can be mothers and do many things at once. Maybe that's true in theory, but you probably shouldn't suddenly start doing strenuous physical activity in your 3rd trimester, especially when you haven't done any of that your entire life before. So, my sister-in-law has been keeping busy trying to be the constant center of attention, and I've been keeping busy trying to be the best mother I can possibly be. Different worries, completely different approaches, totally different goals. Update 5. I said, it's time to relax and move on with my life. Maybe I'll stop posting on Reddit because my daughter is already born, and once my sister-in-law gives birth, there won't be any more drama. No one warned me that when my sister-in-law's baby was born, there would actually be more drama. But thankfully, this is the kind I'm not involved in and can watch from afar. Let me give you context, because otherwise it won't make much sense. My sister-in-law has Caucasian skin tone, but her boyfriend, Ben, does not. I'm not sure why they never got married, even when they were about to have a child, but they were living together. Ben expected their child to be born with a skin tone somewhere in between theirs, but the baby turned out even whiter than my sister-in-law. Well, that's not hard. The baby hasn't exactly spent time in the sun like she has. Now, I don't know for sure if Ben is the father of the baby, but at the very least the situation raised suspicions for him. That led Ben to request a paternity test, because something felt off. And the result, the cause of all the drama, is that the baby isn't his. Ben not only kicked her out of his house, she's now living with her parents, but he also made a very public post tagging her directly. And unlike my sister-in-law's usual passive-aggressive posts, where she never names names and just vaguely hints at things, this post was aggressive. He called her a cheating beach who slept with some white guy and added a bunch of things I'm pretty sure Reddit would censor. He even called her racist, saying she deliberately tried to have a baby with someone her own skin color. What shocked me the most was seeing some of our family members liking his post. This wasn't one of those "we've mutually decided to go our separate ways" kind of breakups. It was full on, "My girlfriend cheated on me with some Nazi, and I hope she rots." So yes, it's been drama overload for my sister-in-law and my husband's side of the family. My husband simply said, "I'm done with this shit," and blocked his sister on all social media. As for me, I've stayed away. I don't want to get sucked into the vortex of drama swirling around my sister-in-law. Still, sometimes I think to myself, well, you got your attention, bitch. And that thought makes me smile.